today is going to be all about apple butter. Apple butter is like a really thick spread almost that you can dip things in or smear it on toast, which is what I'm going to do with it. Despite the butter in the title, no butter in it, it's just apples and sugar. I've got 2 different varieties of apple. All has come from my tree that's in the garden. I will put a little picture in there. It's a very sweet little tree. And then these apples, these are more of a cooking apple from the neighbour, and these are the same ones that I used for the apple tart tan-ish. So I'm really just cutting into quarters. Just checking there's nothing majorly mangy. And if there is, chucking it out. But you want to keep as much of the cores as you can, because that's where the pectin is. So the pectin in the apples that naturally occur in the apples will help set the butter. So that's kind of the size that I'm doing. So with the bigger ones, I'm going to cut those into quarters and then probably into 8 pieces. Because you want them roughly the same size. It's not spot on or anything. I've never made this before. I've skimmed through a couple of recipes. I'm going to have another look at the James Beard recipe that I found. This is 2 kilos of apples. Now add in some water. There's about 300 mils, just over a cup. Now I'll add the flavours. You can do this later, but I'm going to put it in now and then it can sort of infuse little bits of cinnamon. Put in a couple of cloves, so 4 cloves. Put a couple of juniper berries. I use juniper to flavour gin, so it's got a kind of nice fragrance to it. Star Anise. This is really just to give it a subtle hint of extra flavour. I'll add 3 cardamom pods, and then a controversial one, licorice. I've set the Instant Pot for 10 minutes. You can do this in a pot, just on the stove, that's absolutely fine. The next stage is to blend all of the softened fruit and then run it through a sieve, just to get rid of any remaining bits of core. I would advise checking whether or not you can put hot food straight into your blender, because you can ruin your blender putting really hot stuff in it. Please be careful, please read the instructions. Blended for 30 seconds. I thought about taking some of the liquid out so I don't have to boil it, but ultimately I'd just be throwing away flavour. I can already see that the texture is a little bit gummy, which will be in the pectin. What I'm left with at the bottom here is the spices and also bits of apple pip and core. So I just want to get out as much of the apple as I can. I think 10 minutes is the perfect amount of time. I wonder if less time even would work. Maybe 5 minutes. We'll try that next time. There's just under 2 litres. Now this can scorch really easily, catch on the bottom of the pan, so it's going to be quite intensive. I reckon I'm going to be cooking it down for maybe around an hour. There's currently that much in the pot. You can feel little bits that feel a bit stuck onto it. So just running the spatula around. All of the recipes I looked at used sugar, a considerable amount of sugar. The James Beard one uses 1 cup of sugar per quart of pure egg, but it is very sweet already, so I might not put any sugar in for a while, and if I do, put in much less. I might switch to a flat-ended spatula, a wooden one, just to help release those stuck-on bits. Okay, so this has been on for 35 minutes. I've actually turned it up to medium, just to get it going a bit faster, but as you can see, as a consequence, it gets messier. And it is really hot. I'm covered in burns. Be careful. If you do get burned, it's best to run the area under cold water. Turn it up higher, it is going to catch a bit easier, so you can't really walk away from it if it's on a higher heat. The James Beard recipe said to do it in the oven. You'd pour it into roasting pans, multiples if you like, probably 2 I guess. Put it into the oven, which is set at 150 degrees centigrade, which is 300 Fahrenheit, and then stir every 20 minutes. I think the advantage of that is that you're not going to have direct heat underneath, so it won't burn as quickly. And you've also got a much bigger surface area, so it's going to evaporate much quicker. I wanted to do it where you guys could see, but next time I'll definitely do it in the oven, because this is annoying and messy. You can see that it's getting nice and thick. When I draw a line through it, it stays, which signals to me that it's getting a little bit thicker. My hands are going to be covered in burns by the end of this. Suffer for your art, they say. Of course, you're not going to need to do any of this because you're going to do it in the oven, aren't you? Yes, Auntie Rachel. You're going to learn from your mistakes. It's reduced by about half, I think. And that's taken an hour, but it's delicious. So I'll put that back in the Instant Pot. Keep going for as long as it takes. It's now been on for an hour and 20 minutes, which really reduced a lot. And it is catching on the bottom now, so I might have to turn the temperature down. Bits that catch will burn, and then obviously the burned flavour just doesn't taste great. I'm trying to plan ahead as to what I'm going to put it on. Toast, I guess. I'd like to dunk something in it. So you can see how thick it's gone. Put a tiny bit into the bottom of this dish that I kept in the fridge. I'm just going to put it back in the fridge and see how that sets up in the next 10 minutes or so while this carries on reducing. This has now been in an hour and 50 and it's really thickened up. I'm going to add in a little bit of sugar. Dark Muscovado sugar has a really nice depth of flavour. So it's not just sweetness, it adds to it as well. 3 teaspoons of dark Muscovado altogether. Stir it round, let the sugar dissolve. You'll also check on the one that I put in the fridge. So it's quite set. If you don't want to use any additional sugar, just stick to using eating apples. I used cooking apples as well, so that's obviously made it very tangy. I think I'm going to put in a bit of vanilla and add in about, a teaspoon. The extract's got alcohol in it, so I need to cook that out as much as possible. A bit of boozy apple butter on a morning might set you up for the day. The last step is going to be putting it into a jar. I don't know if it's going to fit in this one, so I've got a little Tupperware just in case. A clean, ideally sterilised jar. The cleaner the jar, the longer it's going to last in the fridge. It's going to be messy. Now I just need to let this cool down really. It'll firm up even more. Decided on having a kind of sandwich. I'm going to smear on a little bit of this. Toasted off some walnuts, and then munch. There's a sweetness to it, but it's not sickly or overpowering. That's delicious. Make sure you hit like and subscribe if you want to find out what the next thing is that I'm going to turn into butter.